not here
No,
tonight.
no, 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 no. So I'll stop down to Mary's office tomorrow, and maybe we'll be able to call from
Yeah,
tomorrow.
because I need to know if there's something I need to request in the
Okay.
contract, fine. If it doesn't need to be in the contract, and you guys can firm
Work
it
it
up
out
with an
ourselves,
email,
right, yeah.
then I don't want to make a lawyer do
Oh,
that.
sure, sure. I'll talk. I mean, if you want to say something to Mary.
No,
then-
no, you talk to her
Okay, then,
tomorrow.
okay, perfect.
Can you hear me, Gia? Good evening. Welcome to the November 11th Vineland Board of Education combined meeting. Roll call, please, Mr. Merkley.
Mr. Costa. Mrs. Cataspati.
Present.
Mr. Fiocchi.
Here.
Mr. Holmes.
Here.
Mr. Sobrana.
Present.
Mr. Silva.
Here.
Ms. Spinelli.
Here.
Mr. Ulrich.
Present.
Mr. English.
Here.
We have a quorum.
And just for the record, Ms. Acosta had called, and she is under the weather this evening, and looks forward to seeing everyone next month. In compliance with the Jersey Open Public Meeting Law, commonly referred to as the Sunshine Law, the Vineland Board of Education has caused notice and posting of this meeting to be sent to the following, announcing time and place thereof, agenda, etc. The Daily Journal, SNJ Today, the Press of Atlantic City, Nuestra Comunidad, Visto Bueno, the Clerk for the City of Vineland, and the Administrative Office Public Bulletin Board. At this time, I ask that everyone please rise for the flag salute. At this time, I would ask that everyone pause for a moment of silence for all of our fallen veterans and District Security Guard Doris Devonshire, who passed away last month. Thank you. Mr. Merkley, we do have a resolution for executive session this evening.
Yes, I do have that. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the City of Vineland School District will convene into executive session at the conclusion of the public portion for the following reasons as outlined in NJSA 10:4-12, discussion of pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiation in which the public body is or may be a party in any matters falling within the attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Cottospati,
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Sobrana,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli,
Yes.
Mr. Ulrich,
Yes.
Mr. English.
Thank you. Dr. Grucci, do we have any special presentations this evening?
Yes, we do. I'd like to just take a moment. We would like to honor, we've invited any veterans from our district to be here this evening so we could just pay tribute to them. So I would like to thank all of those in our district who have served, thank them for their service, and remember all of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for us to enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy every day. And I would also like to mention those who are serving now. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. We have gotten a response from a handful of people who I believe are here this evening. And I'm going to ask Mr. English and Mr. Ulrich if they would be kind enough to present them with a pin. If you would please come up so we can thank you for your service. I have Mr. Joseph Camardo, principal of Barcy School. Mr. Frank Rodriguez, one of our bus drivers. I'm not sure if he's here this evening. Okay. Mr. George Henry, also one of our bus drivers. Not here. Okay. Mr. DeSanto, our board solicitor. Florence Spivak, one of our nurses, and Mr. John Provenzano, head of security. If there are any veterans in the audience that I did not mention, please feel free to come up at this time so that we can recognize and thank you. Thank you all for your service and for being a part of our school district. God bless you.
I just want to take a moment to thank Dr. Gruccia because it's an idea she came up with a couple years back, and it's a good way to honor our district employees that are veterans. And again, on behalf of my colleagues, I would like to thank everyone, past and present, for their service, and wish everyone a happy Veterans Day. At this time, do I have a motion for the approval of board minutes, October 7th, 2020 combined meeting, October 7th, 2020 executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cataspati,
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi, Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Sobrana,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli, Mr. Ulrich,
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes,
That passes.
thank you. At this time, do we have any committee reports this evening?
I have the Facilities Committee report.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ms. Spinelli?
Myself, Dr. Gruccia, Ms. Cataspati, Mr. Fiocchi, Mr. Marcoli, Mr. Fernaccio, and Mr. English attended the meeting yesterday. First thing on the agenda was Veterans Memorial School, the renovations of the Child Study Team. Second thing on the agenda was the CARES Act. We looked at replacing some fixtures with touchless sensors, some bathroom projects at the Vineland High School North. We looked at some budgetary things that we're going to do, maybe beautifying some of the schools, talked about replacing some windows at some schools, looking at roofs. We also talked about, let's see what else is on here. A complete care project that opens up at the Vineland High School. And I think that they'll talk about that a little bit more later on. We also did some construction at Veterans Memorial with the floors and the floor tiles, and that's about it.
Thank you, Ms. Spinelli. Do we have any other committee reports? Okay, seeing none. At this time, do we have any reports by our board solicitor this evening?
None.
Thank you, Mr. DeSanto. Moving along, do we have any public comment on agenda items? Anybody in the tank out there? Okay. At this time, we have motions and resolutions by our superintendent, Dr. Gruccio.
Thank you. I would like to recommend discussion of personnel items, retirements, resignations, terminations, leaves of absence, employment, transfers, student substitutes, extracurricular activities, and volunteers.
Do you have any questions or comments?
I would like to recommend approval of personnel item 1.1.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cataspati,
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Sobrana,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli,
Yes.
Mr. Ulrich,
Yes.
Mr. English.
Just a quick comment before my vote. Just again, under personnel, I just wanted to take a moment to really thank everyone in the district because, again, it's been some trying times, and I'm hearing nothing but positives for the job that's being done. It's not easy what's happening, but everyone is stepping up and answering the call, and it is much appreciated by this Board of Education. So thank you to everyone personnel-wide in the district, and my vote is yes.
That motion passes.
I would like to recommend discussion regarding trips and district travel.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding adoption of the 2021-22 budget preparation calendar.
Dr. Wu, just a quick question. Oh, questions or comment, Board? Just a quick question on the actual, on these calendars, these are pretty much what's in place, but then it's going to be probably a fluid process.
Right, but the dates, there are certain dates we have to do things by, so, I mean, it can be changed, but that's pretty much a tentative calendar that we try to stick to.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Mr. Merkley, anything to add to that?
Yeah, we won't get the state's calendar probably till the end of January, and then we'll solidify the back end of the calendar when the board really has to meet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion of a resolution approving the dates, times, and place of monthly board meetings per the list provided and on file with the board secretary.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion authorizing the board secretary to enter into an affiliation agreement for the 2021 school year for the placements of students for field internships, student teaching, practicum, and observations with Newman University.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the agreement between the Vineland Board of Ed and the City of Vineland. It's on file with the board secretary.
Questions or comments?
I'd like to recommend discussion regarding the submission of the New Jersey Department of Ed HIB grade school self-assessment for determining grades under the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. This is required by the state at a public meeting prior to the New Jersey Department of Ed submission.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the first reading of the following policies, regulations, and bylaws. You will see several on here that were updated and they were discussed at Policy and Personnel.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend approval of items 2.1 through 2.7.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cottasbody,
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Sobrana,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli,
Yes.
Mr. Ulrich,
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes.
Those motions pass.
Thank you.
I would like to recommend discussion of budgetary transfers from our general school-based and ECPA budgets for the month of September 2020.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion of the board secretary and treasurer reports for the month September 2020.
Questions or comments?
I'd like to recommend discussion regarding the placement of special education students.
Questions or comments?
I'd like to recommend discussion regarding the submission of the following grant applications. Our fiscal year 21 Perkins Secondary Consolidation Application, which is from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021 in federal funds in the amount of $77,863.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the non-public security aid, which is in the amount of $65,450 for the 2021 school year.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the cancellation of the list of checks from accounts payable provided and on file with the board secretary. They consist of the Wallace Student Activities Fund, Pillis Student Activities Fund, Delago Student Activities Fund, Petway Student Activities Fund, Veterans Memorial Student Activity Fund, budgetary account, and the net payroll account.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the 21-22 preschool expansion one-year preschool program plan.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the tuition contract between the City of Vineland Board of Ed and Pittsgrove Township Board of Ed for one student in the amount of $15,017 from September 8th, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the tuition contract between the City of Vineland Board of Ed and Atlantic City Board of Ed for one student in the total amount of $14,401 from October 8th, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
Questions or comments?
I'd like to recommend discussion regarding the tuition contract between the City of Vineland Board of Ed and Pleasantville Board of Ed for one student in the estimated total amount of $14,401 for October 26th, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the tuition contract between the City of Vineland Board of Ed and Pleasantville Board of Ed for one student in the estimated total of $14,401 for October 26, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the tuition contract between the City of Vineland Board of Ed and the Pleasantville Board of Education for one student in the estimated amount of $14,301 for the dates October 29th, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the tuition contract between the City of Vineland Board of Ed and Gloucester County Vocational School Board for one student in the total amount of $7,866 at $786.60 per month from September 2020 to June 2021.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding awarding the following contract for foundational literacy and professional development for the term November 12, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, with the option to renew 2 one-year terms or 1 two-year term for a maximum of 3 years, paid for by the Federal CARES Act grant.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding awarding the following contract for elementary cross-curricular digital learning resources for the term of November 12, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, with the option to renew 2 one-year terms or 1 two-year term for a maximum of a 3-year term paid for by the Federal CARES Act grant fund.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend discussion regarding the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Vineland Health Department, Southern New Jersey Parental Cooperative, and the Vineland Public Schools for the 2020-21 school year.
Questions or comments?
I recommend discussion regarding the following: Cumberland County Regional Cooperative Transportation Initiative, quoted contracts and addenda.
Questions or comments?
I would like to recommend approval of items 4.1 through 4.17.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Codispoti,
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Sobrana,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli, Mr. Ulrich,
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes.
Those motions pass.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gruccio. Okay, at this time, under 10B, we have proposed items for review or discussion or adoption by board members. Under 10.1, we have discussion regarding board members participating as a member of the district's equity committee. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. DeSanto just to give us our synopsis, how we got to this point. So if you can take that over, I would appreciate it, please.
Thank you, Mr. English. If everyone would indulge me for a few minutes. The practice of law is not an exact science. There are times when an answer to a legal question is clear, and there are times when it is not. Legal opinions are clear-cut when a court decision, a commissioner decision, a school ethics decision, or a statute or regulation address the situation and is right on point. For example, the School Ethics Commission decision on board members' involvement with the superintendent's evaluation or contract. As you know, the commission clearly determined that any board member whose spouse is employed by the district cannot pass upon or discuss or vote on the superintendent's contract or evaluation. There is an example of a clear-cut directive that makes a issue resolved with just a reference to it. But there are times when the answer is not so clear. In other words, there isn't a court decision or a commissioner's decision or a statute or regulation that is exactly on point. In those circumstances, lawyers rely upon our training, our experience, and review of related law and render an opinion based upon our best professional judgment. For example, when Dr. Gruccio's daughter was considered for a promotion to vice principal, I was asked whether the 3 conflicted members could discuss and vote upon her appointment. There was no School Ethics Commission opinion directly on point, so I reviewed related opinions and rendered an opinion that, in my professional judgment, the 3 board members could not vote. A couple of board members disagreed, so I suggested that the board authorize a request for decision from the School Ethics Commission. The commission rendered a decision agreeing with me, and the 3 board members abstained from any discussion or vote on Dr. Gruccio's daughter. Recently, I was contacted by Mr. Holmes, who asked me if it was permissible for him to be a member of the Superintendent's Equity Committee and serve as co-chair. It was my understanding that the committee was made up of various members of the community, administration, and 4 board members, and would operate as a think tank and discussion group on diversity and equality issues. I didn't see much difference comparing the makeup of the Equity Committee, comparing it to the Superintendent's Strategic Planning Committee, which also included board members. It was my understanding that ideas and recommendations from the Strategic Planning Committee have been submitted to the board for consideration. It's also my understanding that board members may serve on organizations such as Parent Teachers Association without violating ethics. So I advised Mr. Holmes that in my judgment, board members could serve on the committee and he could serve as chair. I emphasized, and Mr. Holmes understood, that he was not speaking for the Board of Education as a whole or for any other board member. He was basically serving as an individual, and his statements would be his personal comments. I suggested to him that he make that statement at the start of every meeting so everyone would know his role. I am not aware of any school ethics opinion directly on point regarding the issue of participation on the Superintendent's Committee on Equality. My opinion represented, again, my best judgment on the issue. If there is disagreement, then as we have done in the past, the board can authorize a request for an opinion from the SEC. That request would consist of 2 parts. May a board member serve on the Equity Committee, and if so, may one of them serve as co-chair? That would be the question. I'll entertain any questions from the board, Mr. English.
What I'd like to do, Bob, basically where we got from there, and thank you for your time explaining that. As board president, I have to make a decision when a board member comes to me and questions possibly, is this ethical or moral? Is this something that we should possibly get an ethics opinion on? So in turn, you and I had spoke. I spoke with Dr. Gruccio, spoke with Mr. Holmes, spoke with my fellow board members, and then I said, let me go to our school board rep. When I spoke with our school board rep, the first thing that came out of her mouth was, the question was, did you speak with your solicitor? I explained to her, yes. And then I took her through the process, and she said this suggested the idea of possibly getting an ethics opinion, which a board member had asked me the same thing. So this is pretty much why we've got to this point. I really would like to hear from each board member. I think this committee is something that is needed. I think it's going to be an outstanding committee for the community. My thought was we are the appeal process. And I did speak with Ms. Kirshner, our school board rep, and I said, you know, it is getting compared to the Strategic Planning Committee. And unlike the Strategic Planning Committee, correct me if I'm wrong, we did not have any board members co-chairing that, did we, Dr. Gruccio?
No, but all board members were invited to be a part of it.
All board members were able to be part of it. And then that committee was something that is more it comes from the state as a mandate, and they pretty much give you an idea who should be on that committee.
It's not a mandate, and we invited people from the public. We ended up with approximately 100 people, which included the community, students, administrators, teachers, and the board. And we worked the committee. School boards helped us go through the process, and it worked through. We would take those 100 people and divide up into groups. We'd each have a task to do, and then we shared out what we came up with. And that's how the process went, till we narrowed it down to 5 major goals that we felt we should focus on. So it involved many people, but that's how we were able to do it, by working in small subcommittees as we went through each topic that was brought up.
Perfect. So then we get to the point with this committee, and the process with the committee was the board itself had found out by a newspaper article that was put in the Daily Journal, and that was a Wednesday prior to our Monday curriculum meeting, where we had a little bit of discussion about that, and then it had created some discussion. Well, what is the committee? What is it about? And I understand it's a grassroots type committee that we're still working on the mission statement and everything. So at that point, my feeling was, I think as board president, if I was probably brought into the loop a little bit earlier, then I could have had discussion with you concerning what the flavor of the board is with something like this. And I think it would have probably got out to the community a little bit better than it did. You understand things. I understand with the COVID, it's tough with things going on. But when the board actually had read that for the first time, I had got some calls. Did I know anything about it? I didn't. I knew that I had been out. I asked Mr. Ulrich. Mr. Ulrich said he wasn't aware of it. So we didn't want to pump the brakes, so to speak, but we want to just make sure that ethically and morally that this is something right. So in past, as Mr. DeSanto will give his opinion, I can use myself because I questioned some of his, and this is what the process is all about, and that's why we have the ethics committee to go to. It's not a matter, do I like what the ethics said or what they didn't say? It was now I know that myself and my board members are protected with the decision that has been made, and then we could move forward. I didn't think that this committee was a time-sensitive committee like a strategic plan was, so if it took 1 or 2 or 3 months to get this opinion, I thought that was the best way to go. But again, I serve as the board president, but I try to be the voice for my board members. I don't know if I covered kind of everything that they were thinking, so if I could start with Ms. Cottaspati, I don't know if you would like to add anything and then just work our way down.
Could I just
Yes.
clear something up?
Yes.
Okay, this was originally an initiative through the Social Studies Department and our supervisor, something he wanted to start for a while. The newspaper interviewed him, and that's how the article was put in the paper. So I support the committee. I think it could be a very positive thing. I think it has to be done correctly. I think we shouldn't exclude people. And our goal is to make this a positive thing, to do the best we can as a school district with these kind of issues and make sure our students are getting the best that they can so that they know how to cope in this world and function appropriately when these kind of topics come up. In the meantime, when we had a superintendent's meeting, the county is also starting their own committee and asked for anybody from the various districts who would like to serve on it. So it's meant to be a very positive thing. I don't want anybody to think this was
Right.
just, that we didn't involve people or whatever. But if we're going to do it, I just think it should be done correctly, and that people's input should be valued, so that at the end of the process, we've accomplished something good. That's all.
And like the board process, when we have a committee or an ad hoc committee, as board president, our bylaws clearly state that the board president will choose the chair of the committee and the members of the committee. When I had talked to Ms. Kirshner from school board, and I had explained to her now that we have 3 sitting board members and a co-chair, so she said, realistically, now you have an ad hoc committee of the board, in a sense. And I want to always try and walk that line very careful, because the public perception, when you walk into a meeting, whether you have 1 board member, 8 board members, 4 board members, it is a public perception thing, and I just wanted to caution and make sure that each board member, yes, Mr. DeSanto made it clear to Mr. Holmes that he is a member of the community, but then you also have to remember, as board members, we are members of the community, but we are privy to a lot of the information that the community is not.
Right, and I thought that by inviting Mr. Holmes to be involved, since he was the first one to express interest, was a positive to show the community that the board and our district were working together.
Yes.
So, that's the reason that this took place, and I then asked Dr. Sneathen if she would chair the committee, because she has worked with this same type of committee in her prior district. So all intentions are
Yes.
that this is a positive. I just want the board to
No,
understand.
and that's the key thing. I didn't want it to be a negative thing. This is just what I like to call housekeeping, because I don't want a board member to come to me 4 months from now and say, I wish I would have known. And this is a good, to me, checks and balance system, if I'm saying that correct, Mr. DeSanto. It's a clean process, and unfortunately, when you reorganize in January, as a board president, you have to get your committees ready, and you pick a chair. Well, I have 9 board members, I have 5 committees, so feelings can get hurt. This typical thing, someone had come to me and asked, well, how come I didn't get a chance to chair? Well, I explained that this is not a school board committee, this is a district committee, and that's when the questions started. And I don't like to answer for you, I don't like to answer for Mr. DeSanto, so this is why it's more of an open forum this way. And at the very least, if tonight a motion is made in a second to go ahead and seek an ethics opinion, I think that would be the cleanest process. And if it's fine, it's fine. If it's not, we know, and we still move forward with something like this. That's pretty much where we got to this point. And if I missed something,
It's not a timely
Yes.
issue, that's all. Okay.
yes, definitely not. Ms. Cottaspati, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything. Did I hit everything?
I think so. We know that this is definitely a positive committee. I just, like you said, checks and balances, I would just feel much better if we did get the ethics opinion to cover us. I was one of the ones that read it in the newspaper and didn't know anything about it. So I was a little confused because, as I said to you, usually things come to us first, and that's how we find out about it. As Dr. Gruccio said, the newspaper had interviewed the other person, and then it was put out there. And I'm sure without her knowing right away it went out. But I just, I don't want people to think that we don't think this is a positive committee. We definitely do. But people have to understand that we also have to watch ourselves and also the district. As you said, we are privy to a lot of things that the public isn't, and that's something that we have to consider. So I think getting an ethics opinion is just going to make it go a little bit longer, but I would feel much better having that, because as you said, it makes us look like an ad hoc committee, and it's not. It's not a school board committee. It's an administrative committee. So that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Sabrana?
Oh, I agree with Mrs. Cottaspati. To bring some clarity to this, this issue for this particular committee and moving forward for any future committee of this kind. And also, I would like to see a committee like this, which is so important, have the broadest possible participation. And as you know, I came to you, Mr. President, and said I would also like to be able to join in on this committee, which I also was on Dr. Gruccia's strategic planning committee as an employee, and I thought it was a wonderful way to deal with a variety of opinions on an important issue.
Thank you, Mr. Sobrano. You did bring up an interesting point, too, and I had missed that. When the strategic plan took place, and if we go with the reopening committee that just happened, board members were part of that, but it might be the word co-chair that kind of makes the water a little muddy here. You understand what I mean by that, Dr. Gruccia? I mean, I don't want to start a new past practice where let's just call it the scholarship committee. Oh, Scott English, I'd like to co-chair that, Dr. Gruccia. Well, it's really not for you. Well, we had a situation where, and I don't want to start a bad practice with something like that. So thanks for bringing that up, John. Mr. Silva.
I also believe that this committee is definitely needed in the district. I actually volunteered to be on the committee myself. But if we do need to get opinions from the school ethics committee, then I'm all for it.
Thank you. Ms. Spinelli?
I also support if my fellow board members and administration feels that it is necessary to seek an ethics opinion. I will support that. I do see both sides of this, and I support everyone on this committee. I will not be on the committee, but I wish everyone the best of luck, and I think it is a great thing for our county and for our district.
Thank you, Ms. Spinelli. Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, in an effort to be transparent, which one of our board members requested that we get an ethics opinion from the commission?
I was in conversation with Ms. Acosta, who was not here this evening, and she had asked me about that, and I said I would think about it. I thought about it, and I said, let me move forward with that. I had spoke to, I believe I even spoke to you, Mr. Thomas. I think I spoke to each board member about that, and at that point, I went to our rep, who is Jane Kirshner, and gave her the information that I had at that time. And again, she didn't disagree with what Mr. DeSanto said, but she said it might definitely warrants an ethics opinion because now you have involved a co-chair, you've involved 3 other board members, which again kind of, she has said to me, so this is a board committee. And then that's when I said, no, it is not, but it sure as well mimics that. Okay?
So I know we're saying we're trying to be, this is positive and all that, but it's turning to be negative and controversial, and everyone wants to be involved in the decision-making. The superintendent, this is the superintendent's committee, and it's a district-wide committee. If we're going to preach communication, collaboration, and transparency, then why wouldn't we have board members at this table, on this committee, giving input or just observing and listening to what the other 50 people have to say? If Ms. Acosta, who doesn't have a good track record with the Ethics Commission, wants to bring this up, then maybe we should table it to when she's here and can weigh in on why we need an ethics opinion. Mr. DeSanto gave his legal opinion about it, and I'm supportive and I'm ready to move forward. I don't need to be co-chair. Dr. Gruccio approached me about it. I said yes, of course. All I want to do is have a seat at this table. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Fiocchi.
Yeah, I just agree with everything Mr. Holmes said. Support this committee. I think it's going to be extremely beneficial for our community. I'm also fine with swapping board members out over time. If the concern we have is with the title co-chair, remove it and move forward this without ethics inquiry. I'm ready to make a motion to proceed if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. From what I understand, Mr. Santo, this is the superintendent's committee, so if the superintendent chooses to not do a co-chair on something like this,
The superintendent's committee means that she determines the composition of the committee. That composition can't be changed by a chair or co-chair. She designates the membership. She also designates the chair or if there's co-chairs. So yes, it is the superintendent's province to do that.
I would like everybody, when we open the committee up, it's for anybody to be involved in. I don't want to turn anybody away. And I just approached Mr. Holmes because I thought it would be a positive thing for this committee to see that the board and the district were working in conjunction. So I'll take responsibility for that. I thought it was a positive move.
so the decision, Mr. Ellis, I'm going to give him a chance to speak, and just in the spirit of communication and collaboration and transparency, I understand that if Mr. Holmes or any board members chairing a committee, co-chairing a committee, I do not believe any district email should be coming from the board member co-chair as were received by when the committee was chosen. I believe Mr. Holmes sent an email out. That's something that should be coming from the superintendent or her designee. Now, you made Mr. Holmes a designee, but he's a board member. Mr. DeSanto, is that something that should come from a board member, or how should the board be briefed on information from that? Should that come from the superintendent, or?
The board by statute receives periodic reports from the superintendent or can request a report. The protocol is always that superintendent gives the reports. So, unless the superintendent wanted the committee chair to present, it's up to her to make the presentation to the board. So what would happen is the committee meets, and as she gave the reports for the strategic planning committee.
Let me back you up.
Unless I misunderstood.
So, this committee hasn't started, but what happened was Dr. Gruccio sent out an email, any board members interested. Mr. Holmes returned the email from Mr. Holmes saying, here's the 3 board members that are on it, and I'm co-chairing it. That came from Mr. Holmes. It didn't come from Dr. Gruccio or Dr. Sneathen. It came from Mr. Holmes. And then as far as who is sitting on this committee, should the board member pick the committee?
No.
Or
as I
should
just
that
said,
be?
The committee composition is determined by the superintendent.
And it's open to anyone, and the intent was that it would be open to anyone interested.
So to my understanding, then, there hasn't been any type of discussion concerning who is on this committee or not on this committee, or has any?
We were going to have, everybody who responded, it was 50-some people, we were going to include all of them and use the process we did at strategic planning by breaking down into small groups.
With one caveat, of course, is that if board members were permitted on this committee, only 4 can serve at a time. Otherwise, you would trigger sunshine, and then all of the meetings would have to be publicly noticed.
Just for the record, there were more than 4 board members on the strategic plan at one time.
All right.
I believe so, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm saying that's the one caveat in terms of everybody. You're saying that I invited anyone to attend or to be part, and I'm just saying there's a little caveat with respect to the board members.
Okay.
That if you had more than 4, sunshine is triggered. So you keep it to 4 or less.
yes, even though in past with the strategic plan, we had more than 4. Yes,
I didn't know that.
I know.
I didn't know that.
They were not all there at one time.
Right.
They
Yeah.
were all invited, but people came in and out as they were able to attend.
Ms. Cottaspati, I'm sorry, I did not see your hand up.
As far as the emails go, asking for volunteer, somebody to go sit on the meeting, people have to remember there are a lot of us work during the day, and a lot of us don't get that opportunity to look at our emails immediately to be able to volunteer to be on a committee or anything else. So I understand that Mr. Holmes was the one that emailed first, but I don't even think I got the email. The committee was pretty much going, and then, I responded back, but it's hard to during the day to get an email, some of us have a job that we can't get access to our emails immediately. So maybe if something like that comes out and they need, something like that, I know with the board, if something's emergent, we text, check your email. But with something like this asking for volunteers to sit on a committee, maybe we could find a time that, that email could go out, that everybody has that opportunity. And I know Ms. Acosta would like to have been on that committee, but she was tied up in court all day and did not get that email until nighttime. So,
Mr. English?
Yes.
Just make one point. Kind of seems like we're beating a dead horse here. I mean, the crux of this issue is you don't want Cedric to be co-chair, which I think he's fine with that. Who sent an email, when they sent an email, I think that's kind of irrelevant. We're not forming these committees on a daily basis. I mean, I've been here for 4 years, and this is the first time this has happened. So, Mr. Holmes said he's fine not co-chairing it. I'm fine moving forward with this committee yesterday, so I'll just leave it at that.
Mr. Ulrich?
Yeah, as being one of the members that sat in on the district strategic plan committee, I felt that it was a good forum. The small groups that we broke, the breakout groups, we all talked about and ranked specific issues that the community and the staff members felt that would be goals. What I really liked about it was that each group, after they formed up, there was a presentation time. So each group got to select a presenter that presented it to the entire committee, and that is how it went. So as far as the Strategic Planning Committee, I felt that that was a good forum for people to go on. So with regard to this committee, I agree with Mr. DeSanto that my trepidation is if a board member is co-chairing and acting in the district capacity, if they're involved in those actions, that's where we kind of cross the line, and that's where the Ethics Commission could rule that out. But to have a committee, I think my understanding was, and I could be wrong, that the district is largely Hispanic. We have a large Hispanic population. And that Ms. Acosta felt that based upon being a Latino member of the community, a long-term serving public servant, board member, that she would like to be on it. Frankly, I agree with that because I think that our committees in general should make up the district's representation. So by Mr. Holmes, by Ms. Acosta, by Mr. Silva, whoever the 4 board members are, I think that we can just maybe not have an ethics committee opinion if we can decide among ourselves how would the public perceive this committee, and should it be representative of our community? And I strongly feel that it should. So I don't see any issue at all with the committee structure. I would agree with Mr. DeSanto that it must be clear that the members on the board don't represent the board at that point. They represent the community because it's a district. When I was on the strategic plan, I did not guide our group. Our group was guided by the community members, the people on it. And I felt that I could add clarification, but what we were doing was just approving a set of goals. I think as a cautionary advice to the board members that do sit on this, just keep in mind that people perceive you as the decision makers. So if a committee agrees, they're going to assume that you agree with that opinion, and it could involve, acting on superintendent's recommendations for hirings, which are, have some clear consequences as far as board members not relying on superintendent recommendations, not having all the information present. So that would be my only precautionary measure is, I agree with Bob, I agree with the decision that he gave to Mr. Holmes. I disagree with the co-chair, so if everybody's willing to say, hey, let's set this board up, let the district invite everybody who wants to be part of it. Let's contain ourselves to 4 board members. And obviously, I agree 100% that Mr. Holmes, Ms. Acosta, who definitely want to be on it, they need to be on it. Mr. Silva, they need to be on it. They're people of color. They represent our community. It makes common sense. So that's about my 2 cents on it. And I'll vote however the board wants to vote. If they want an ethics opinion, I'll go along with that. I don't think it's necessary that we can just right now resolve it and say Ms. Acosta's on the committee and form it up right now and end it and save money. That's my
I just wanted to clarify too, when Mr. DeSanto and I spoke, and nobody was telling Mrs. Acosta she couldn't be a part. I welcomed anybody, and if we had to rotate, we decided that that's what we would do. So I haven't had a chance to talk to her, but I don't want her to feel as though just because she didn't respond immediately that she was left out of the process. Just want to clear that up.
I have a question. So, Mr. DeSanto, as long as Cedric is not co-chair, we're clear to move forward? Sure. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. The only comment I like to make, Tom's suggestion, of course, is well thought out. I would be a little reluctant, though, for board members among themselves to pick who's going to be on it.
Correct.
I'm
sorry.
trying to say this is Dr. Gruccio's
I got
committee.
you.
You're going to
Right.
taint it more with board involvement
Correct.
if you tell her who to put on it. Okay.
I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't
Yeah.
suggest that because I would make it a board committee. I think it makes good common sense that the superintendent act on the board members that want to be on it, that represent our community.
The key word again is common sense here. And again, the committee is a great idea, and it's something that should have probably been here years ago. So, as board president, when I hear a complaint, again, they come to me, they ask. If indeed there was an issue with this committee and it came to me, then I have to say, well, how did this happen? How didn't I stop it from happening? So by this process, I think it's been pretty transparent. Again, I have no problem if it's going to be capped at 4 board members. Is that what we're saying?
Bob, are they, if a board member would like to sit in on a meeting and somebody's willing to step out,
Yeah.
can they do that as the process goes
Yeah,
along?
that's not it. I'm saying more than 4, if there are more than 4 board members sitting in at any one meeting, whether you break out or not, that triggers sunshine and all the requirements.
And that
That's all.
that did not occur in the strategic plan. There was only 4. We
Right.
worked that out in advance.
But I just want, I envision this as a committee that's not going to meet for 3 months and end. It's a committee where these kind of dialogues should continually take place.
Correct.
So personally, if, say we're into this for 7 months and a board member would like to sit in and see what's happening, I wouldn't have a problem if somebody sat in in place of another board
In
member.
place
Do
of
you
someone
see that
else.
as a problem?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, they
All right.
would be alternates, shall we
Okay.
say, and then they could sit in the absence of a sitting
Okay.
committee member.
All right.
You know.
I'm happy with the dialogue here, and again, the only way something like this would happen if there's a motion and there's a second. I did my duty as board president to get it on the agenda for discussion, and if indeed it doesn't need a motion or anything, but I just need to know that the superintendent's committee, she needs to just let it be known for the record that you will be having a committee with no co-chair. It will be 4 board members, and it will be chaired by Dr. Gruccio or her designee from central administration, or if it's a Mr. Stanger or someone to that effect, correct?
There needs not be any board action if that's the case. You don't need to do anything tonight.
Right.
Again, Dr. Gruccio designates the membership, designates who chairs or co-chairs. So if she's stating to you on the record here that 4 board members will be designated, remaining board members will be considered alternates, and Dr. Sneathen or her designee will be the chair. There will not be any co-chairs. If that's her decision, then there's no need to request any opinion, in my opinion.
We can table it off the agenda.
Well, it isn't even on. All that's on is the discussion.
Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
We purposely did not put the motion in hopes
Oh,
that it
okay.
wouldn't be required.
All right.
I wanted it to get out in the open because I can't talk to one board member at a time. Now I have everyone, and
Yeah.
they know everyone knows how they feel. Mr. Fiocchi said it best. Mr. Holmes kept it transparent as it could be. Mr. Spinelli, Mr. Silva, Mr. Sobrano, Ms. Calasparti, Mr. Aldridge, you said it. I am a little bit more confident with that, and I trust my board members to act as community members.
I'm going to chalk this one off to COVID, everything else. So,
COVID.
yeah, it's COVID, so
Does anyone
don't
have
worry
any
about it.
discussion on item 10.1? Seeing none, we will move to 10.2. Approval of a motion authorizing the board solicitor to petition the Commissioner of Education and/or the Superior Court of New Jersey for adjustments and reimbursements of tuition paid by the board to CC Tech.
Motion.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Catasparti,
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Sobrano,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli, Mr. Ulrich,
Yes,
Mr. English.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Just in closing on this agenda item number 10 stuff, the board members, you guys all know me, and if indeed there's any type of discussion out there that you're not sure of, I always have that open door policy. I pick up the phone. If you're not sure, or if something occurs that you might think isn't quite something that is normal, I would just appreciate it that a phone call or email could be dropped to me. Just a friendly reminder, because again, that's how we can avoid things like 10.1 snowballing to something like it did this evening. Okay? At this time, do we have an approval for the bills that incurred during September 2020? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Catasparti,
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi, Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Sobrano,
Yes.
Mr. Silva, Ms. Spinelli, Mr. Ulrich,
yes.
Mr. English.
Yes.
That passes.
Okay, number 12, we have no emergent items with prior approval. Do we have anybody in the green room? Opportunity for the public to address the board. I apologize, Mr. Fry. COVID.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Okay, seeing none, the green room is empty. Thank you, Mr. Fry. At this time, we have old or new business. Mr. DeSanto, I just want to need a quick clarification for something. We had a beautiful ribbon cutting yesterday. Mr. Holmes was able to sit in on the ribbon cutting on behalf of the Board of Education. And I know that Ms. Spinelli was not part of that process. Moving forward, now that it is opened, if we would like Complete Care to come and give a presentation, is that something that can be done now that Megan has, that the process is done?
Sure, there isn't any action the board has taken. It's simply a presentation. She doesn't even have to leave her seat in that regard because there's no discussion with her or vote or anything. So yes, it's perfectly fine.
Yesterday, we had facilities, which she does chair, and it was on our agenda for a little bit of discussion, but we saved that until she was
Well,
removed.
if and when that discussion takes place, she'll have to recuse herself from the committee.
Yes.
If there's any
And that-
follow-up, any amendment to the arrangements, anything like that. She's aware of it. She's done a great job.
Yes.
In terms of recusing herself and letting the rest of the members take care
I
of it.
wanted just to let the public know where we stand with this,
Yeah.
and is she able to at least explain that this evening?
Explain what?
What this is all about?
No.
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 If
What
I
I'm
ask-
saying is that the presentation can be made, you're talking about at a board meeting with
Yes.
someone else from
Yes, from
Complete
Complete Care.
Yes, that's fine.
Gotcha.
But now that it's up and running, she's more than welcome, am I correct, to stop in there, stop by, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
she
Yeah,
can,
just can't-
right? Okay,
Yeah, she
okay.
can't speak to administrators, how's it
Okay.
going, what can I do to help, and she knows that.
Yes.
Okay.
Like at the ribbon cutting, as I mentioned to you,
Yes.
she was perfectly fine if she wanted to
Okay.
attend, she just couldn't be part of the ceremony.
It is such a positive thing.
It is.
And, I want every board member to be part of that process.
And we don't want anything misunderstood that somehow her membership influenced the decision.
It's just so important, that something like that came available to Vineland Public School District and the community. It's just, I cannot thank Complete Care and Paul Fernaccio and his crew, Dr. Gruccio, Mr. Fry. It's really a breath of fresh air to see a collaboration like that will help so many students and community members. So I look forward to the opening of it. And Dr. Gruccio, do we have an opening date on that?
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Monday, it's ready to roll, right? Okay, yes, Monday, okay.
And I would like it to have some type of, we had talked about some type of special presentation at our December meeting, but I just want to make sure that maybe through Gia or something, we could get something website-wide so people are aware, because we don't meet until, I don't know, the first or second week in December, the 9th. So definitely, I would like to get something out there. I don't know if Complete Care has a disc or something that you click the button and bam, here's what it's all about type thing, which that was my point before. I was hoping Meg could give me a little insight, but hey, no worries.
A disc.
Disc. I'm dated, man. I'm dated. That's it. All right. Does anybody else have any old or new business? Seeing none. Board members, remarks this evening. I'll start to my left. Ms. Cottaspati.
Thank you. I'd like to start off tonight by thanking all of our veterans, past and present, for giving so selflessly of themselves to afford us the freedoms that we have here in the United States. God bless and be with you. I was looking through tonight's agenda and realized that there is a combined 108 years of service for those who are retiring on our list tonight. Ms. Atha, Ms. Myers, Ms. Layton, Ms. Devano, and Mr. Pace, thank you for the many years of commitment and dedication to the Vineland School District. Finally, I'd like to wish everyone a very safe and happy Thanksgiving. Have a great evening, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mrs. Cottaspati. Mr. Sabrana.
Yes, just want to echo Mrs. Cottaspati's comments about our veterans. Well, we are all grateful for the sacrifices they've made and the struggle that has given us the freedoms that we enjoy today. I also want to congratulate Ms. Spinelli and Mr. Holmes returning to the board, and Mr. Ulrich for his many years of service. It looks like the outcome, like on a national level, still unclear. We'll see what happens there. And finally, happy Thanksgiving to all of our students, our staff and their families. We hope you have a safe and healthy Thanksgiving, and you're mindful of the need to take precautions so that we're all safe. Thank you.
Mr. Silva.
Yes, I'd like to also echo Mr. Sabrana and Ms. Cottaspati in regards to our veterans. Thank you for your sacrifice. Also, I would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and a safe one, and continue being safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Ms. Spinelli.
Good evening and a happy Veterans Day. I'm not going to talk about the election because it's not over yet. It's been a long, stressful process for us, but we are still hopeful and I will catch up with you next meeting to give some election results. I did notice the beautiful bus yard as I pulled in, well lit it, you can see all the buses, the new driveway. I commend everybody for that project. It's amazing work. I also want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Get your Black Friday shopping, and that's it. Have a great night.
Thank you, Ms. Spinelli. Mr. Holmes.
Yes, I echo the sentiments of our board members. In regards to the election, I just want to thank everyone. I think I've put up 11,000 votes, and they just keep coming. I was content with 5,000 and 7,000, but they're still counting. Hopefully, we'll have a decision soon. It's not about titles. It's not about being a board member, co-chair, anything like that. It's about service. It's about giving back to our community. It's about doing what's best for our staff and for our students. So I hope everyone stays healthy, stay positive, and let's keep doing good work in our district. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Fiocchi.
Just want to echo, like my board member said, thank you to all the veterans for your sacrifice, giving us the freedoms that sometimes we take advantage. Nothing else at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Fiocchi. Mr. Ulrich.
Okay, my father was served in the United States Air Force. Most of the people I work with at my current job have served in the military. When I was in my former career, so many officers were in harm's way, serving so that we, and I include myself, can be at home, we can enjoy the freedoms and the liberties that our Constitution guarantees. And to them, thank you. I'd also like to make a slight remark about Doris Devonshire and her passing. When I saw that night, I forget who sent it to me. I don't know if Dr. Gruccio did or whoever. I thought to myself, and I called Scott right afterwards, and I told him she was one of the security guards that was really out there. You saw at all the events. She, was friendly. So, it's always sad to see someone pass away, and that I didn't know her personally, but I knew of her in the district, and having served on this board for 4 terms, I've seen a lot of people come and go, and she was here, so I was really sorry about her passing. On a positive note, I want everybody to have a great Thanksgiving. Be safe. COVID is still around, and it's going to be around here. There sounds like there's some hope for vaccines, and obviously therapeutics have, and our doctors and our medical personnel have really adapted on how to treat this terrible illness that's so highly contagious. So be safe, take your precautions, and do what you have to do, and hopefully the end of next year or whenever it gets around, we'll be able to look at this in the rearview mirror and get back to some semblance of normal, whatever that is. I'd also like to thank our staff, our parents, the students. It's so difficult to operate in this environment. Online learning is not going to be a great way for our kids to catch up, especially the younger ones that need help, or if you have advanced kids that they need to be challenged more, and it's just not a good solution. Hopefully, we can at least offer some services for the over 6,000 students that are coming back into the district. Keep practicing the safe measures that we're doing. Be smart, follow good sound procedures, and we can see our way out of this pandemic and come out better prepared, stronger, and get back to the normal day-to-day. Everybody needs it. there's so many people that are suffering from depression. Our staff members, they're stressed out. Everybody is, because it's such an uncertain period of time. So with Thanksgiving, you get to be with your family and to remember and to give thanks, and we all should do that. Life is short. Last week, I was at home, and, I'd had a regular work day, and, I'd come home, and then, that next morning when I reported to work, my boss meets me at the door, and I'm thinking, okay, COVID's here, getting laid off, type thing. And he told me that one of our staff members had a heart attack and had passed away that evening. 59 years old. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And that's what we're talking about here, to appreciate what you have. It's not about titles, positions. It's about service to the community, like Mr. Holmes said. And we should always keep that in the forefront of our minds, that with our participation in this process, we make a difference. And I believe that. And I can also tell you that Ms. Spinelli has never talked to me about complete care. I sit on many committees. She's never talked to me, never pushed it. When I saw it, I went, wow, what a common sense decision. Just like tonight with the Equity Committee. It's a common sense decision to have that and have board members part of that. So some things are just, to me, clear as can be, but that's why we have attorneys, and that's why we have laws and statutes and regulations. So with that being said, I'd just like to say good night.
Thank you, Mr. Ulrich. Dr. Gruccio.
Thank you. I just like to reiterate what was said by everyone and thank all of our veterans for their service, both past and present. I appreciate everything they've done for all of us. And sometimes we forget that we take things for granted every day, and they have fought for us to enjoy the freedoms that we have. So I thank you very much. And I just want to wish everybody a very healthy, happy, and blessed Thanksgiving. Please stay safe and just be careful and practice protocol so that we don't have any more bad news within the district. Enjoy the holiday and be well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gruccio. Dr. Gruccio, I did have a couple people ask me concerning the Thanksgiving football game. Are tickets available? Are tickets not available?
I will be glad to check that out for you. Right now, the procedure that's been taking place is that every football player, the band, and the cheerleaders each receive 2 tickets. But I will make a phone call tomorrow. I'm sure that board members would be invited to the game. But since it's a Thanksgiving game, I'll find out if they're, what the procedures are going to be, and I'll make sure I get that out to everybody.
Yes, and if we could get something maybe out publicly too, because
No
people
problem.
are coming in from out of town.
I'll ask you to put something out once I get there.
You would think that they're not coming in from out of town, but I've already had people that, hey, is the football game on? They're playing, but, the caveat, we don't
And
know.
I thought the governor said that staff don't count against the numbers. Did I get that right? The total 500?
Well, originally, we were told that they do count.
But
in
now
that-
they don't.
In that total number. I haven't heard anything different.
Was it the player? I recently read something about the numbers. So the governor or the state police colonel made some clarification to that executive order.
I'll find out.
Yep.
All right.
Yes, and if you can, just send something out, then maybe we can get a blast out there, have Gia take care of that. That would be great. I echo everything that my board has said this evening with respect to the veterans. The word freedom, the first 4 letters, free. It's really amazing. That word free, freedom doesn't come free. Many families have sacrificed, many people have lost lives fighting for what we do take for granted today, which is that very word freedom. We just had an election where record-breaking highs, people have the freedom to go out there and cast their vote. That's really what it's all about, and that would not be possible without our men and women who have fought in the past, the present, and will do it in the future. Tonight's discussion was exactly what a board is really all about. We discuss, we analyze, we come up with the common sense approach, and and I believe we made the right decision this evening. It was a clean process, it was an open process, and I don't have to wonder what anyone was thinking, because everybody had a fair chance to express their thoughts, their beliefs, and we have moved forward on to the next chapter. I look forward to this committee. I understand that Dr. Sneeden will be the district person that will be representing Dr. Gruccio. I look forward to seeing some quarterly reports or something to that effect for the board, so we know what is happening. And again, I think it's something that is a long time coming, so I'm glad that Mr. Stanger kind of put it out there early on, as Dr. Gruccio said, and like some things, unfortunately, they get put on the back burner in the school district with all the different items. A lot of us, my board members, we always, what do we say? We say, wow, we just want to talk about students and education, but we have so many side things going on. We never get down to the nuts and bolts of why I ran and what my platform was all about. At this time, I think about the words Thanksgiving, and we have so much to be thankful for. This is going to be one of them Thanksgiving unlike any other, where usually you might gather around your table with 24 to 50 people and see what family's all about, but now they're saying maybe it's not the time to do that. But also, I think about some of the families that are less fortunate that might not even have that food, that extra meal or something to put out there. So I encourage the people in the public, if you get that free turkey from ShopRite, you got those food banks. You have so many other areas of people that need so much more. So when we sit down and are fortunate enough to have that side dish, for that one person, they might not have that luxury. So when it comes time to say that Thanksgiving Day prayer, keep the less fortunate in our thoughts and in our prayers. I'd like to wish everyone in the district a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Last month I had thanked some of the people that were in the building, and it's so hard to get everyone. So I remember Ron Franceschini back in the day, just a simple thank you really covers everyone. So I just wanted to really take a moment. I know we are all hearing complaints, but compared to what I'm hearing about other school districts, what the Vineland Public School District has put out there as a product, we as board members should be proud, because there's a lot of negativity out there in other districts, and we're really doing the best that we can do with the cards that we are dealt. It's not ideal, and it's not, you want to try the online education versus sitting in the classroom. I really don't know what the answer is. I don't think any of us know anymore. We're hearing a lot of rumors. I can only hope, Dr. Gruccio, she's been meeting with the county roundtable so much. I don't envy you one bit. It's that thankless job, because no matter what, the people that want the kids in school are happy, but the ones that are having home aren't, and it is a tough balance. I do want to thank each board member, though, because I know you're being approached publicly, and you have weathered the storm well, because I've heard nothing but positive things. The election is still ongoing, and it's an interesting year, so I'm not surprised by that. But as Mr. Holmes said, he was happy with 5,000, 7,000, but these numbers continue to rise, and from what I understand, there's going to still be a couple days there. So, when you put your name on that ballot and you decide to run for any type of public office, I think I've said it in the past, and I'll say it again. Unfortunately, we have winners and we have losers, but it is just so important. I don't really consider anybody a loser, because to have the courage to want to be a public servant, this is the toughest of all, because we're the ones that do not get paid and oversee this $200 million budget. It is really a lot to take on. So to have the courage to run for your local school board, it really says what he or she is character-wise, and then to see the support from the community. We're talking, I think, 8,000, 9,000 votes for the lowest vote getter, as much as might be 15,000 for the top vote getter. This is, to me, what it's all about, and the public is probably the most engaged as it been. I'd love to see the green room full, but for the most part, we've had some pretty long board meetings the past couple months, so seeing it like this, I mean, hey, it's a little lull in the action. But just without beating that dead horse again, I encourage everyone to really look at that person next to you, that family member, that friend, that relative. Maybe pick up the phone and just an extra I love you and an extra thank you, because you, as Mr. Ulrich said, you really don't know what tomorrow brings. And I would just, again, thank everyone for being involved in the Vineland Board of Education, taking the time to watch the meetings, taking the time to be critical in the grocery store, telling us what we're doing right, definitely telling us what we're doing wrong, and take the time to have a joyful holiday season. With that being said, I ask, do we have a motion for adjournment this evening?
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you and good night.